In this week's Rogers McHugh YouTube video, we're going to be discussing whether or not there's an impending recession on its way. Let's go! In this week's Rogers McHugh YouTube video, we're going to be discussing whether or not there's an impending recession on the way. So for the last 6 months or so now, the mainstream media have been trying to scaremonger everybody into believing that we're going to go into a deep, long recession and the economy's going to tank. So what are the justifications for saying this? Well, the main point is that they've been looking at is interest rates have been going up. That is correct. Inflation is soaring. Again, that is correct. And also house prices are going to crash. They've not yet got that right. And I find it hard to believe that that's the case. Now, I'm not going to say there's not going to be a recession. I'm not going to say there is going to be a recession. I'm not going to say that we're not in a recession as we speak. And for clarity, we're filming this in the middle of April 2023. What I would say is that I'm not taking part in any recession this year or next year. Rogers McHugh aren't going to be taking part in any recession this year or next year. We're still ploughing forward with our plans. We're still driving the business forward. And there were some stats that came out around unemployment again this week, and unemployment stable at 3.8%. So we've still got very low unemployment within the country, which is great news. And yes, times are tough for some people, and the cost of living has obviously gone up, and that's undeniable. However, I don't think it's as doom and gloom as the government or as the mainstream media would have you believe. So there are certainly ways that you can navigate through that, and we're going to look at a couple of them today. But also, if you're watching the news, reading the news, believing what's being told to you, it is quite feasible that you could be sat there at your desk working in recruitment thinking, well, nobody's going to want to hire because we're in the middle of a recession, we're going into a recession, it's going to be deep, it's going to be dark, and nobody knows what the outcome's going to be. And I don't think that's the case, and I think that if you have the right attitude and the right mentality, you can navigate this pretty comfortably. I think if you believe the doom and gloom, and look, doom and gloom sells papers, doom and gloom gets you watching the news. Very rarely do they have good news on the news or on the front page of the newspapers, because it doesn't sell. So if you believe the hype that they're trying to build up, then you could be sat there thinking, well, this isn't going to work for me. We've got no chance. What's the point? That's completely the wrong approach, as I'm sure you would know. But it is easy to get into that spiral if you're not careful. But like I say, we're not going to get involved in any of that. We're driving forward. It is important to make sure that as times do get tougher, that you hone what you're doing. So I would most definitely make sure that you operate within a niche, you're not generalist, and that you have fantastic knowledge of your market, because that way you can become a true recruitment partner to your clients. If you are a generalist, if you don't have a specific knowledge within a sector, if you're generally just a CV thrower, then you will struggle in a tighter market. Of that there is no doubt. But if you do carve out a niche for yourself, and you do have great market knowledge, and you can add value to the clients that you work with, then you absolutely can navigate this quite well. So that's the first one. Making sure, or certainly trying to have recurring revenue as well. Again, it's not always possible. If you're a perm biller and you don't do temp, it is obviously slightly more difficult. However, you can go for making sure that the campaigns that you work on are maybe retained rather than contingent, so that you know you've got the revenue coming in, rather than having to deliver before you get the revenue. So there is always, even on a perm desk, opportunities to. It's not quite recurring revenue, but it would give you a lot more confidence that the role's live. It's an active position, and it's something that you can fill. But if you do run a dual desk, or if you're a business owner, making sure that you've got recurring income and a temp book will help you navigate any downtime, because you've got predictable revenue coming in. If you're starting the month every month on 10 grand of temp revenue, then you're going to have a good month, whether it be 20 because a couple of perm placements are going in, or stick at the 10. You're not going to blank. So recurring revenue is obviously massively important, especially in a downturn. But most importantly, I think, is providing excellent service to your clients. If you provide a good service and you've got a good relationship with your clients, they'll absolutely work with you. And we spoke about being a generalist. If you're a generalist and you don't have a relationship with your clients, you're going to struggle in a downturn. And I'm not saying we are going into a downturn, but if the market does get tighter, there's not as many people recruiting, then not providing a good service, not delivering what you say you're going to deliver, and not having a good relationship can cost you in some circumstances. So absolutely make sure you've got the best possible relationship you can have with your clients, and make sure that the service that you deliver is a star. You know, we're working hard on making sure that the service that we provide our clients and our candidates is absolutely different class, because if it's not, you don't stand out from the noise, from the crowd, from the field. You've got to make sure that you separate yourself, and a lot of the sort of reviews that we've received recently have sort of demonstrated that we are doing that, and we're constantly pushing the consultants to make sure that that's the case. I'll put a link to the Trustpilot reviews in the show notes as well, so you can go and have a look at the type of reviews that we're getting. But absolutely, service is paramount in the current climate. So I said that we weren't going to take part in a recession if there was one, or if there wasn't one. So what are we doing as a business? Well, exciting news, more of which will come out in the next couple of weeks, but we're in the process of moving our head office into a nicer, more vibrant, bigger space so that we can grow the headcount. And if you're following our socials, you will absolutely have seen recently that we have grown that headcount. We've brought in a couple of recruits this month who we're really pleased to have brought on board, one of which is a senior appointment to the management team, and we're really keen to continue growing the team. We're not going to stand still. The headcount isn't going to stay where it is now. We don't see major warning signs on the horizon, and we're going to plough forward with our recruitment plans for this year and look at continuing to grow the headcount. So we're absolutely going to continue to do that. Like I've already said, we're moving our head office in South Manchester as well to a bigger, more vibrant and nicer office. So really looking forward to getting the team in there. It's only a couple of weeks away, and like I say, there'll be more footage of that on the channel to come. And we're going to continue to develop and train and bring on our consultants and develop them, and look at investing in our people, because again, the people in a recruitment business are the lifeblood of it. We're going to continue to invest in those and help their skill set develop, and help them develop as people and consultants, in order that they can get the best out of themselves and maximise their own potential. So it's feasible that there may well be a little bit of a wobble in the economy this year. I'm not convinced it'll be as bad as everybody seems to make out. I certainly don't predict 10% house price crashes over the course of the year like some of the commentators do. And unfortunately, inflation is a real thing, and it is having a squeeze on people's cost of living. The benefit, if you are watching this in a sales role or in a recruitment position, you are in a good position in that you earn commission, so you can increase your earnings without your basic needing to go up necessarily. So you are one of the more fortunate people. You're not stuck on a basic wage where inflation's currently running away, and your pay isn't going up in line with it. So you're in a good position. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what people expected, given the fact that during COVID we had to print loads of money, and you know, we're paying furlough for 2 years. There was a lot of money sloshing around in the economy. That was only going to lead to one thing, and that was inflation. And unfortunately, we're now in that position where that's come to pass. But it seems to be under control. The interest rate rises that have gone up don't seem to be needing to go up as scarily high, again, as some of the commentators would have you believe. And I think we're probably now at most one more interest rate rise this year, and that'll probably be it. And that'll be enough to sort of bring inflation down. It's already coming down. It's still, I noticed today, the report was that it's still above 10%, but it is on its way down. So I feel like we're over the worst of it now in terms of inflation. I feel like it's getting back under control, and I feel like the interest rates aren't going to continue to run away with itself either. So don't listen to all the doom and gloom. There's plenty out there. If you want to go and find bad news, you can find plenty of it. Stay positive. Utilise some of the advice that I've given in this video. If there's anything else you think that needs to be added in, feel free to put it in the comments, and I'll of course respond in due time. But most importantly, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and then you're notified every time a new video drops every Sunday at 8 o'clock. See you next week.